Let's ride, or should I say, let's write in the Book of Demons. Oh, I think I know oh. I think I know what we're going to do today. Let's do this thing. Alright, what are we looking at here? Walk on in. Bloop, get some money, get some money. Easy, easy, easy. The spiders seem to have broke a case where they can kind of just ward. Yeah, that's annoying. Yeah, talk about swarming strats, like really. Very accurately. Swarming strats. And then you kill one, and 3 more appear. Where are you? Anti-poison things? I think I'm occasionally buying poison arrows by happenstance. Come on, poison. No, nothing, no? Okay. Cards? Oh, I didn't realize that the Lonely Ghost was a charge monster. Let's go here and let's do, what's the thing? Splitting bow back. That was easy enough.
Good.
Wasn't there a health pool somewhere up here? I feel like there was some health. If we go back up here... Come on, how close do we have to get? There we go. I'm starting to get the feeling that up here is actually a dead end instead of the intended path to exit, so we might as well go and explore it for all it's worth. Upgrading card. Perfect! Did I just snort by accident? Usually it's on purpose. Okay, well there's a mini-boss fight here. So maybe this, like, is the intended route. I'm not so sure anymore.
this.
I feel like after we're done this run, we should probably go check out what's in the cauldron. It might probably be worth harvesting it by this point. 2 golden rewards and all that. Oh, did you check that out? I am trying to run away from all these spiders. Run away and use the fire arrows. So this was in the end a dead-end path. That's good to know. So we can just slowly, ever so slowly, start making our way all the way back. However, I think the game volume being a little bit lower sounds just a little bit good. I shouldn't be fighting with the game just to be heard. Oh, look, the exit was right here. To do on this level, 2 arachnoids. What? Here they are. 4 arachnids. I mean, 2 arachnids. 4. 3? 5. Okay, everything done. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's only 6 floors.
I like the candles thing. Sets a nice mood for the slaughter.
Oh, wait. I have me mana. Let's get 1 extra mana. Well, this holds... Oh, right, that heals 40. Maybe I should have been healing health. Pardon me. Darn this. OCD. No. I've never been officially diagnosed with OCD, but I have always had tendencies leaning towards it. Certain things I've just always lived with that I've never actually heard as things. I've never heard of them as things that people with OCD do. But they seem rather obsessive compulsive. That's the big guy. Oh. Is it dead? Probably dead. And spiders are really annoying to face off against as the archer. Oh, oh no! And that's why the jump is not leaving my quick select. Jump is too useful to be abandoned, as it were. No, we got all that stuff there. I think I heard a few more spiders starting to crawl and skittle their way around this here place. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I heard some more. Spider. Oh, would you look at that? Some more files. Oh, would you look at that? It's an unidentified card. Cool. Oh, those things explode? I was just killing them just to kill them. Ooh, what is this? Drains life and mana. I want it. Yeah, that's especially good with all these spiders to fight off against. Approximately 1 in 10 drop in a health / mana. Yeah, starting to sound pretty good. And then when it drops back down, it's no longer on fire anymore. It put itself out while it was sneaking around. Lucas the Deceiver? Another boss fight? Dude, 1,000 arrows. I'm just getting a whole bunch of achievements today. I still remember video gaming before the days of achievements, when people would just brag about, like, stuff that they, you know, claim to have done in games. And then, like, they wouldn't have any proof about it. Unless the thing, like, registers on, like, a save file, then they could, like, show off, like, yeah, see? Yeah, I told you that I totally got, like, such and such thing. Like, here's my save file to prove that I'd done it. But yeah, I told you I beat the game. Here's my save file from where I beat the game. Sort of a thing.
Mess with the best, die like the rest.
Yeah, and then eventually, like, achievements started to get added on, and most of the achievements are like, oh yeah, beat the game, and it's like, okay, it's like, beat this level, it's like, beat level 1, beat level 2, beat level 3, like, if you beat the game, you get, like, all the achievements, and it's like, okay, sure, it's just, like, tracking progress on how far of the game you've gotten, and it's like, woohoo! And if you want to know how long a game is, you can see it's like, okay, beat levels 1 through 8, then beat the game. So there's like 9 levels. Got it. But then there started to be achievements for like, oh, beat this secret boss. You know, beat the extra boss. Or beat the game on like very hard difficulty. And it's like, you know what, that's fair. That's fair of a thing to ask for an achievement. Because otherwise, like, you could get all the achievements playing on, like, the easiest difficulty. But now it's like, okay, this shows, you know. And then it's like, oh yeah, like, jump 1,000 times. That's an achievement. It's like, you didn't achieve anything. At least beating the game, like, you did a thing. Fire 1,000 arrows, like. Okay, you've played Archer more than once. Pick up 500 health, destroy a bunch of slimy spores, like, whatever, like... I think there's an achievement in Cloning Clyde that was, like, transform into all of the things you can transform into. And it's like, okay, like, that's, It's like... It's like, okay, I see that. Back God, bitch's corpse, Hyper Skeleton Zerker. Like, what's with all of these monsters right here in my face? Hey, and remember that one, like, Halo 3 ODST, like, game mode that came out? The one for ODST, I think it was, like, Firefight or something? And, like, the premise was, like, oh, this isn't a game mode that you can just play for a quick 15 minutes before work. This is, I'm going to be taking the week off. This is basically just an endless, like, firefight. That was fun. Remember I watched, like, not so much a tutorial, but, like, a tips video of, like, how to deal with one particular map. And I followed the tricks, and I actually did kind of well on it. Like, yeah, that firefight thing is fun. Back when games could just be fun. Playing endless modes on games is nice, but the achievements are usually always either, like, way too difficult, like, survive for 100 hours. By the way, you're not allowed to pause. Or survive for 10 minutes. By the way, the first wave spawns in 11 minutes. Like, yeah, like, by the way, you can delay the first wave for 11 minutes. So it always feels like either, like, it feels weird, but there's less. Sumi, you want to just come on up already? There's less incentive to do things in games if there's not achievements for them. Like, back when I was first playing Dark Cloud 2, I saw that you can make, like, essentially, like, building blocks. I think they were called, like, foundations, whatever. And I thought, it's like, oh yeah, hey, this is pretty cool. You can make little, like, foundations and stuff, and I think it was especially on, like, the ocean map, so you could, like, you know, put foundations on the ocean, put houses on top of them, whatever. But what I decided to do was I put down a bunch of foundations, and I basically just made, like, a house out of foundations. Like, of course, it wasn't registered in the game, so you couldn't, like, move someone in there, obviously. But you could go and, like, move around. Like, you couldn't make anything very advanced, but you could still make at least something. There's, like, a stair that's, like, you can make, like, ceilings and, like, stairs go up to, like, the second floor, and it took up quite a bit of in-game resources, because you need, like, what, stones to make those things, so you need to buy the stones, but I think by that point, there's a glitch where you can just make infinite money, so it doesn't really. It's the fact that it costs in-game currency, because of course this was before microtransactions were a thing in console games so much, so. No, this was before microtransactions, this was PS2. Pretty sure this was before microtransactions, which also ruined gaming. I guess one could say that playing a game on the arcade counts as a microtransaction because you have to pay just to play, but that's more of a short-term rental fee as opposed to the longer-term rental fees of, like, Blockbuster or Rogers Video. Gosh, Blockbusters was a cool place. I kind of wish that there was still a place like Blockbuster, but with, like, very lenient rental costs. Because, like, I don't remember how much it cost to, like, rent a game for a week, but I feel like if you could rent, like, even, like, especially, like, brand new game for a week for, I'd say, like, less than $10, for a lot of games, that would still be worth it. Like, imagine, like, a new Super Mario Bros. Game comes out. It's like, well, you could spend, like, what, $80 and buy the game. This is Canadian, for the record. Like, $80 Canadian, buy the game. Or you could spend, you know, $65 for the game coupon pass code, whatever. Still, $65 for the game. Or you could spend $10, get the game for a week, and then, like, if you beat the game in a week, like, a lot of games don't have, like, endless incentive to keep playing the game. So you get the game, you play it, you beat it, and you save like $55. But instead, nowadays, it's like, you buy the game, either you buy the game digitally, in which case, you know, out the 65, or you buy it from, like, cartridge, in which case you're out, like, $80, and then maybe you try to, like, return it, you might get $30, maybe, probably not. So you get a lot less money, so you wound up spending more for it overall. And then someone can buy the used game at a slight discount, maybe $75 instead of $80. Like, it's like there is definite... Yeah. And then, of course, there's the argument of buying games digitally versus buying them physically. It's like, all the games that I've bought digitally, like, strictly speaking, I could very well lose access to them, like, at any time, right? Like, all the games I bought digitally on the Switch, if Nintendo really wanted to, I'm sure they could just say, like, oh, no, you don't own any of those games anymore. You can't play them. Like, no, shut down the service, not allowed to play them. Blah, blah, blah. And there's already something like that going on with the Switch, specifically with, if you have your primary Switch console, then you get a secondary Switch. Then you get a second Switch as, like, you know, a secondary whatever. That secondary Switch can play any games that you have bought on your primary Switch digitally. However, it has to be online in order to play those games. And if you try to play any of those games on any game on the primary Switch online, then the secondary Switch stops functioning. So it's... And, like, we had come across this with the, with, like, the property. Going down to the property, didn't have internet, so it's like, okay, well, if I bring the secondary Switch, I can't really play any of my games on it, because it has to go online just to validate being able to play. But I can't go online because no internet here. So, if, say, something had happened to my primary Switch and it completely broke, I don't have internet to transfer, you know, make the secondary Switch into primary right now. Well, now I do, but, you know. And then it's just a case of, like, well, can't do it. Or, like, so if, like, the Nintendo servers go down, can't connect the secondary Switch to the servers, can't play any of those games. Something happens to the first Switch, secondary Switch can't play the games. Oh well, you can't play them anymore. But if the games were physical, secondary Switch could still play them just fine. Even if both of the Switches got destroyed, as long as I still could get my hands on a Switch, I could still keep playing all of the physical games. So I've somewhat come to a conclusion about that. I think, yeah, for stuff like, and of course, like, same thing for, like, Steam, right? If Steam decided, oh, we want to pull this game from our servers, which I'm not sure how much Steam does that, but it's definitely a thing that is possible, that a game could just suddenly become unplayable, like, not allowed to play anymore. Steam just decides, nope, people aren't allowed to play this anymore, screw you. Like, well, what if I want to play it? Uh, so I think the answer in an event like that, if stuff like that should happen, would basically just have to be piracy. Just pirate whatever games. And just take whatever games that you wanted to play, that you are made unable to play, and then just pirate them. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, you could always just pirate the games in the first place and never pay the initial, say, $80 for the game. And it's like, that's somewhat true, yes. But if you pirate a game, like any like online play stuff, doesn't work. Like just from a sheer practicality standpoint, not even arguing the morals of pirating games, you can't really do online play. But if the Nintendo servers go down, all online play gets taken out anyway. So there's this thing I saw a little while back. Getting health this time for sure. That was an item. Sorry, Simon wanted up. Or maybe he didn't. He just wanted to see what I was up to, I guess. It was an item that basically just, it looked like a Switch cartridge. Like a Switch game cartridge. What it was a device to hold, like, game ROMs. So you could emulate Switch games, but actually play them on a Switch. I'd seen lots of reviews about it. Like, if you try to play a game online, like, Nintendo has a code for every single copy of a game that they sell, so they'll be able to tell, like, oh, hey, 2,000 people shouldn't be able to play this game at once, something's going wrong. So it's like, don't use online features of the game. Some people are saying, no, just don't go online at all while doing this, and some say it doesn't matter, and some people say, no, it's totally fine. So I don't know who to believe. I just know what I've been told, and I didn't want to actually test it myself, because people were saying, like, oh yeah, they'll, like, put, like, a warning on your entire account, and it's like, okay, well, maybe if I can get my hands on a Switch where that stuff doesn't matter if the account gets banned from online, but blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I was tempted to get one of those, and I think if something happens to, like, the Nintendo Switch store, if Switch... once, like, maybe not the next line of consoles, maybe the one after it, in 10 to 20 years when after the Switch has lived its entire lifespan, and it's gone the way of, like, yeah, we're not finding new stuff for it again. Maybe I'll just get one of those. And just, like, yeah, play the Switch. Play any whatever game I want. Frankly, I want one of those for, like, the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, like... Nintendo really hates emulation. I understand that Nintendo hates emulation, but if they hate it so much, they can provide, like, old games, like, decently. Like, if I go out and buy a copy of the original Legend of Zelda, like the gold cartridge for Nintendo. Original Nintendo console. The Nintendo Entertainment System. Nintendo, the company, makes zero money off of that. Because I cannot buy original Legend of Zelda from Nintendo Company. I'd have to buy it secondhand. I'm frozen and walking through fire. How does that work? It's like, suppose I wanted... Or, suppose I want a copy of, like, Pokemon Blue version. A lot of people... Okay, you know what? Screw it. Not Let's go with one that people actually do want to keep buying. Pokemon Emerald. Pokemon Emerald, I hear. Great game. I've tried playing it a few times. Never actually played it all the way through. Maybe I should try something on that at some point. I played it a bit. If I wanted an actual copy of Pokemon Emerald, I'd have to buy it from a secondhand store. Nintendo makes no money. And I'd have to spend probably about $200 on it. Whereas instead, if I could, like, go to, like, Nintendo.com and buy a copy of Pokemon Emerald for... That was Game Boy Advance, right? Yeah, for Game Boy Advance. And pay... I mean, even all of the physical stuff for it, it wouldn't cost them so insanely much to make. Let's say $20. Screw it. With shipping, let's say $50. For a real, authentic copy of Pokemon Emerald. Heck of a lot less than the second-hand price. You know you're buying, like, an authentic copy because it's made by Nintendo. And you also know that the battery isn't just kaput because it was probably made in the past year or so instead of, what, 15 plus years ago? That's the thing about those old games, too. Not so... Actually, kind of with Gen 1, but especially more so with Gen 2 specifically, I've heard. The game cartridge themselves have a little battery in them. That's how the game cartridge keeps your save file. It has a battery inside it. Really cool. You can actually open up, like, a copy of, like, Pokemon Blue, Red, or Yellow. And there's, like, I want to say, like, a calculator battery in there. I remember a few years ago I'd gotten some secondhand copies and the saves didn't work because the battery was dead. My dad happened to have spares of that exact kind of battery. And so we just fixed the batteries in the games and then they started working again. And yeah, whatever. So it's like, if you... So I guess we'll have to reiterate once again. So let's say Gen 2. Let's say Pokemon Crystal. Pokemon Crystal, great game. I have played through it. That's where I got my Shiny Dragonair from, was playing Pokemon Crystal. I play an emulator because to buy an actual copy of Pokemon Crystal would be over $100. It would be really neat if I could have just bought a copy from Nintendo for like $20. And it's like, yeah, just put it into my Game Boy. I'd buy a Game Boy from Nintendo. $50, and it comes with Pokemon Blue. Blue, red, or yellow, depending. Yeah, at random, you get blue, red, or yellow. It's like... You know what device I've been really... Ooh. You know what device I've been really wanting for a long time that it would have been sweet if Nintendo had made? The Retron. Retron is... I want to say it's an emulator device. It's, strictly speaking, not an emulator device. Because it doesn't play emulated games. It plays off of the, like, original hardware. But it's just one device that can play basically all of your cartridge-based games. You can play NES games. You can play Super and any. You can play NES games. You can play SNES games. I don't know if any of them could play N64 games. They could play Game Boy. They could play Game Boy Advance games. And it's like, yeah, all of those old, like, cartridge games you have, but for some reason it's like, boom. Retron, put it in. I've been, not like, you know, looking every day or anything, but every once in a while I'll, like, whenever I happen to find one, I'll look at it. And I think, what, Retron 5 is the latest one, and then they got, like, lawsuits or something, so they had to stop. I don't know the full details. I just know that they got to a number and then stopped, and I don't think that number does N64 games, although it, which it did. But, like, it has HDMI, so I could plug it into a capture card and play, like, I could potentially do, like, actual original, like, Paper Mario on console. Although I have a little device here in my dresser right next to me that would allow me to take, like, the AV ports from, like, say, my Nintendo 64 that I still have from back when I was, like, 6 years old, and to play something like Paper Mario. I'd have to actually get a copy of Paper Mario, and that would probably be $120, but, like, still, theoretically speaking. So I'd have to, it's like, I have to get that device. It was, I don't know what, $20 or something. It wasn't, like, uber expensive, but still. It was maybe more like $10 to $15, so, you know what, screw it, $10. Plus, I had to get a capture card. That was a few $100s. Plus the Nintendo 64, which I'm fortunate enough to already have one, but if I didn't have one, that could likely be a few $100s. If you go on, like, buy and sell, or, what, Craigslist, or Kijiji, or whatever, you might be able to get one for cheaper. I think I almost got one from someone for, like, $20. That's its own whole story. Not much of a story. It's at my grandparents' place, and heard that they often have, like, the grandparents stay there for, like, prolonged periods, but the grandkids are usually bored there because there isn't really anything to do at the grandparents' place, while the adults are all, like, entertaining each other. And I thought, it's like, oh, well, you have this TV in the basement, why not get, like, a game console, get a couple of games, so the grandkids can, like, just entertain themselves with video games in the basement. And they're all like, well, I mean, if you can get all that, like, set up for us, sure, we'll do it. And I found someone on, like, Kijiji, whatever, who lives somewhere nearby and is willing to sell an N64, a few controllers, and a couple of games. I don't remember the games exactly because this was ages ago. I think one of them, at least one of them, was like a half-decent multiplayer games, like Super Smash Bros. Or something, like... oh yeah, like, this is something. Oh yeah, but, like, imagine if I could have gone on, like, Nintendo.com, spent, like, $100, got N64 that hooks up to, that plugs into, I was going to say Wi-Fi / Ethernet. No, don't need to go that far, but that could be cool. Like, just get an N64 that hooks up to HDMI, get a collection of games. I'm trying to think of multiplayer games. Super Smash Bros. Iggy's Wrecking Balls, that could be a fun one. I think that one has a bit too much of a curve to entry. I don't know, whatever. But still, like, Super Smash Bros. What else do the kids need? Yeah. Console, cables, 4 controllers. And then just get it all, like, shipped over. Like, that'd be cool instead of having to rely on getting someone's old console from local. Like, there is something neat about playing on the old consoles and stuff, and like I said, like, I have the hardware and also software to legitimately play games on the old console stuff. Like, I used to, I still remember, it's like, I'd have, like, a friend over, and we would play, like, okay, I remember having friends over, we played Crash Team Racing. No, not the version on the Switch, and not emulated. We played my copy of Crash Team Racing on the PlayStation 3. I hooked up to, like, the big screen in the living room. 3 of us playing boom, boom, boom. Oh, we had, like, a heck of a time. It was great. Alright, I'm good on hearts now. Okay, I just thought, it's like, you know what could be really funny? Playing Crystal Project on a console. It's like, I have this, like, $2,000 plus computer. All this cool stuff for playing cool games. And it's like, you know what I want to play? I want to grab someone's attention and let's just play Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters. Gosh, that game was gold. Like, seriously. That game was amazing. Like, way back in the... And it's like... There were arguments that people made about, oh, such and such games graphics don't hold up, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, back... Like, Heart of Darkness. Back when it came out, Heart of Darkness had amazing graphics. To be fair, the sample size of knowing it had amazing graphics is rather small. It's just me and my mom agreeing, oh my gosh, that looks awesome. And now, it's like, it's definitely aged. Like, that's a game that came out, I'm pretty sure, I think, like, before the year 2000, and it looks like it. Whereas Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters looks like a Looney Tunes video. Like, it's Bugs Bunny and it's Taz. It's Looney Tunes, right? Like, it looks like Looney Tunes. And you know what? You look back at that game today, it still looks like Looney Tunes. It's not, oh, super realistic. It's like, no, that looks like Looney Tunes. It still does. Like, you can't really argue that so much. And it's like, I wish I had the sort of motivation to just grab a game. It's like, okay, let's just play this for like 100 hours. Although, I mean, in all fairness, have started doing that with some games. It's just that I tend to get bored after, I don't know, 50 or so hours. Like, Azor and I have been doing a lot of Payday 2. So much so, in fact, I started putting it up on the channel just because, like, hey, we're playing this so much, we might as well also record it. And then... And of course, she drags me into doing Codenames so much. I put one video on. Don't really know if I'm going to do much, but I might. That looks like a boss, and that looks like a minion. But the fact that I haven't met with that thing that looks like a minion means that that could be a lot worse. No, looks like a minion. So, but yeah. It's like, because, also, way back in the day, now this might have just been a being a child thing instead of actually a thing of the period, but, like, back in the day, there weren't, like, cheap video games. Like, nowadays, my little brother can go on Steam, buy a new game for like $10, play it, whatever. He could download games for free on Steam and play them. Back in my day, I would have loved to have just been able to get, like, a copious amount of free games. Like, for what felt like the longest time, I had like 6 video games. Can't name them all. Okay. Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt, where we eventually lost the gun, so we couldn't play the game. So yeah, was it Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt, Captain Skyhawk, not Captain Falcon, Captain Skyhawk, different game, cool game, kind of want to actually play it more because I don't think I ever beat it. DuckTales, woohoo, Double Dragon 2. 1, 2, Captain Skyhawk, Double Dragon 2, DuckTales. That's only 5. I feel like there was another one. I'd have to go over to the other room to check my NES games to see if we had a 6th. Then eventually I got... Like... Okay, so like I did get a PlayStation at a young age. But again, I didn't exactly have a lot of games for it either. Like I had like Spyro and A Bug's Life and stuff, and it's like... Yeah, no, I didn't have Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters until I was like 8. Gosh, I don't even know how much money that my parents had spent like renting the game for me over and over again. But then I finally got it as a Christmas gift. And like, think that very day. Pretty sure that very day that I got it, like, the actual game itself properly. Whoop. I finally got the game, and then immediately beat it. Like, I was, like, on, like, the final boss or something. Gosh, you remember those memory cards? You could barely hold anything on there. I remember I had, like, one memory card, and, like, enough games to, like... And, like, I didn't want to delete games, like, oh, but what if we, like... What if we download... What if we borrow that, like... 101 Dalmatians game again? Like, I'll have to start over from the beginning. I don't want to just delete all of my save data. Nowadays, save data takes up so... No, I'm not kidding. Like, I think it was like 24 like bytes of data. Like, not gigabytes, not kilobytes. I think it was like bytes or something. Like, it was an insanely little amount. And then the PS2 came out and its memory card was like 8 megabytes or something. Like 8,000 kilobytes. Like, it's like an 8 megabyte memory card. And that could have stored like... I had like 5 PS1 memory cards by the time the PS2 came out. And one PS2 memory card could store all of my PS1 save data. And still have a ton of room to spare. Like... Then the PS3 came out, and it's like one little 2 gigabyte drive could store all of my PS2 and PS1 save data, and I think also all of my PS3 save data. Probably not so much that, but it's like... And yeah, basically ever since then, I've never really had a issue specifically with save data of games. I always had enough room that I didn't have to delete my game save files. Yeah, but now I could just go online and download ROMs for every PS1 game that I want. So there's no need to actually borrow them. Like, yeah, like I said, it'd be really cool if, like, maybe game stores or something, or maybe Steam itself have had a feature of, like, borrow this game to try it out. So you pay, say, 10% of its cost up front, and you, like, borrow it for a week. And it's like, no matter what happens, like, you've paid part of the cost up front. They could put some, like, thing in there to, like, either make it so you can only play it if you're connected online, or some way that can't be gone around to delete it after a week, or whatever. But then, after the week is up, you can't play it anymore, unless you want to borrow it again. But you get an option to just buy the full game, but with the 10% discount. The 10% that you already paid on borrowing it. Like, I feel like this would overall make devs like less money because person's like, oh, it's like a $10 game. Sure, I'll buy the $10 game. It looks like it's alright. They play it, they beat it in like one sitting. I know I've done that. And then they go, well, I don't need to buy the full version. I'll pay $1 for this $10 game. And it's like, I mean, I guess that's kind of on the game dev for making a game that can be beaten in like 3 or 4 hours. Like, but stuff like that would just incentivize, like, oh, well, I guess we have to put like a week's worth of padding into this game so person can't just beat it within the demo period. Or the trial period, whatever. And honestly, I just think that more games should come with free demos. Really? Like, you have, like, I've had it on this channel. I play the demo of a game, the demo ends, and I go, oh my gosh, I have to get the full version. Like, this game is awesome. And some of the times, those are games that I would not have actually bought flat out if I were to play the demo of them. I think something like Crystal Project, I just bought outright even though it had a demo. Like, I know this is going to be good. But there are definitely games that I was very unsure about. Played the demo, bought the game, then continued playing in the same video. I mean, I also think that the demo should have like 1 hour's worth of playtime, but that's harder to specifically determine. Yeah, but if you like download a demo and you only get to play a game for like 5 minutes, that feels kind of cheated. Yeah, I know, free demo, whatever. But also, back when the 360 first came out, I didn't have internet for it yet. Like, we had internet, I just didn't have internet hooked up because I didn't have the $100 adapter and my room didn't have access to Ethernet. Yeah, it was a $100 Wi-Fi adapter. I think more than that, because like tax, it's like a $110 Wi-Fi adapter. Just to connect an Xbox 360 to the internet. It was lame. Eventually, we moved the 360 into the basement where the Ethernet was. So I was able to go online, play online games and all that stuff. And there were a lot of game demos on Xbox Live. And there's this feature that I had turned on where when you set the console to go to sleep, it'll automatically update stuff you have that needs updates. Okay, bye! And in the process of doing this, if there are any new free demos available online, it'll download those demos for you so you can start playing them. And I remember that there were a number of games that I just played the demos of over and over and over again because I didn't have the money to just willy-nilly buy the games. Cloning Clyde was... So I played like the first level or two of a handful of games a lot of times. Cloning Clyde, which I actually have it on my Steam wishlist now. They ported the game over to Steam. And it's like $5.50. I don't have access to all the games and stuff that I did wind up buying on my main Xbox Live account because I was a child account, because I was a child at the time. So I need access to the parental email that I'd originally used to set it up. But unfortunately, my parents don't have access to that email address anymore. Sorry, my my brain went 1,000 miles away. Yeah, don't have access to that same email anymore, so I can't like get back onto that account, so I can't re-download all the stuff. And the original Xbox that I had used has long since been thrown away because it had died from a Red Ring of Death, and I had it sitting like up in like the closet shelf for years. But then my dad, then after I left, because I was an adult and moved away, my dad moved, and I think he probably just got rid of the old console altogether. Because I didn't bring the old non-functioning console when I moved away. I bought the console that actually worked. Yeah, I still have an Xbox 360, but not the original one. And now I just, yeah. Way back in the day, every single game you had was precious because you got games so infrequently and all that. And now I have like hundreds of games on in my Steam library that I've either never played or barely played, and I'm still on the lookout for other more new games. Like, there have been games that have been like just sitting in my Steam library, not just my wish list, like my actual, like I bought them, didn't play them. Years later, I finally played them for once. Turns out the games are actually pretty good, and that I wish I had played them a lot sooner. But anyway, yeah, achievements, woohoo! Some games, you can get all the achievements just from basically beating the game, and some games, you have to do a lot of, like, extra stuff, but it makes sense, and other games, it's all like, it's like, that cat game, Little Kitty Big City. It's like, that's a cute game, and I would want to get all of the achievements for it, but some of the achievements are like, get petted by 20 people, like, put away 100 pieces of trash. And it's like, put away a piece of trash. Like, first you have to find a piece of trash on the ground, then go and, like, pick it up, bring it to the trash can, put it away. Like, process takes probably roughly a minute. So it's like, spend over an hour and a half doing this thing that's honestly not really fun to do. If it was like 10 for the achievement, it's like, okay, sure, whatever. Because I probably got 10 over the course of playing the game just by picking up random pieces of trash. But no, it's like 100. Like, you have to put away. You have to do it so much, and it's like, no, it's not worth it to do all of that. It's like, yeah, I enjoyed the game. I didn't enjoy it enough to do a chore for, like, well over an hour. Like, I can imagine, like, maybe if someone wanted to, like, play the game over and over again, eventually they'd reach 100. And that's, like, a thing. But it's like, I didn't really like it enough to play it again. That might be, like, a big tell of some games, actually. Like, Bugs Bunny and Time Busters, I have beaten the game. I definitely want to play it again. And it's like, some games really open themselves up to. It's like, okay, I know I just beat it, but I want to keep playing. Not I, swept them clean, killed everything, got a bunch of extra achievement stuff. This, okay. Let's go and visit the town, but we'll do the town stuff at the start of the next episode, so it's all fresh in our minds when we go in. But until then, just wait, okay? Like, hold on a moment.